Hello, friends, family, and keepers of the faith. Welcome to another Del Boy blog. It's the weekend, so here's another one. This one is registered as Year 2, Blog 36, or in legacy numbers, Blog 88. Yeah, 88 of them then. And it's dated 29th of October, 2023. And we usually do the news first, but we might as well sort of like talk about my week and how I'm feeling and my mind at the moment. Always good for my nephew and niece, which is the intention of this as a historical point. And hopefully a bit of entertainment and knowledge for you guys for the rest of the blog. And the weather is not great. Lots of things happening there. It's been very wet, so of course I'm now going to drain the fuel out of the petrol mower because there's no chance now, I think, of mowing the lawn. Leaves all over the lawn. We've got a leaf blower picker-upper, sort of like a Hoover thing. And the bad news about that was that I got it going, so that's the good news. But the bag that picks up the leaves and chops them into little bits, into mulch, has developed holes. So I need a new bag. You can get third-party ones, but they have universal connector ends. Apparently they're not great. The material as well on the cheap ones equally degrade quickly. And the official one is £45, and the leaf blower only cost 90. So bloody hell. They certainly know the bit that you're going to want to buy more often. I don't like that. I've got a funny feeling they, like a lot of these companies, they know the bits that go quick and they put the price up on those, and they know that nobody wants to buy something a second time, and so therefore you're stuck with buying an expensive part that basically just goes quickly. So yeah, not happy about that. So I've ordered that through Amazon, and that arrives on Wednesday. Lots of things happened this week. Been speaking on the phone a lot more with a couple of friends, Jake and Ryan. Hi, buddies. Hope you're watching this. And less so with Rock God, but that's because he's not been very well. He's actually been less on the chats. If anybody really hopefully watches, his stuff. And I don't want a gap to form. That's what my danger is. The more less conversations happen and bigger spaces of time, the less close you feel. I talk about segregation an awful lot. It's a funny feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach, where you see other people laughing and joking, being more involved, doing collaborations, looking like they have an awful lot of fun, and in your life that you're not treated brilliantly at work. Things aren't happening for you well at home. Health and things and boiler problems and all that sort of stuff grow on top of you. You're not on the chats as much, and you suddenly feel like a third wheel. And that's not through anybody's fault. That's life. That's how things move forward. But it's that same thing that I said about how I don't like YouTube and Facebook in particular at Christmas. If you're not having a good time and you see everybody posting pictures about the parties that they're going to, what presents they're opening, it can cause even not only bad, bad things, but it can actually do terrible things like suicides and all sorts of stuff. Sorry about this. Let me just get rid of that noise that was there just then. There we go. And yeah, so if you're in a bad way and good things are being shown, you get more depressed. And with depression, depending on how far you are down a depression path, can end badly. But hey, so we've talked about the weather, we've talked about sort of pet peeves, hates, and things. What's happened this week? Um, well, I had a huge weight off my mind on Friday. I got my hair cut. Ah, see, joke. Had to have that one in. Oh, I think my camera's out of sync. Just bear with me. I thought I'd fix that problem. Obviously, I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. This blog. I did create more space. I might need to move it to my newer SSD drive. It will record faster to it. Yes. I'll look at my drivers as well, again. What was I talking about? Yes, Friday. So I got my hair cut. And I got a notification this week that my contract on my phone ends on the 7th of this month coming. And I'm sure I mentioned it a couple of months ago where I turned around and said that EE didn't do what they were intending to do. They were supposed to send me a text message when the contract that I was on, which was just supposed to be for a short period of time, it was a anytime, any change contract, which was slightly more expensive, turned into a rolling contract. And it turned into a rolling contract after a year. And that was slap bang in the middle of my grievance and my time off work. So I wasn't paying attention too much. But I checked, because I keep all of my texts from EE, and I didn't get one from them. So the price went up and up. And I noticed that my last payment, for the including the last 8 payments, has been very close to £80. And I've got a 3-year-old phone. Now, it started off 2 years previous at £60 with a refurbished phone. The refurbished phone was supposed to be something that I handed back when a better phone was available to me, and we were all waiting to find out whether the Note 21 was coming out. It never happened. Samsung decided to put all of their money into the Fold technology, and the Fold 4 came out with very mixed reactions to it, and the whole phone issue sort of like went into the background because of what was going on in my life. So I went in there and I said, look, I'm not going to have a go at your company. I've complained enough. I don't have a problem with your service, and your customer service is very good as well. But you do promise things and they don't happen. You do misrepresent your selling, because that was the contract I was on was supposed to be for a short period of time, and surely you could see that mine was going up and up and up. So I've paid over the odds. So you've got 2 choices with me. You can drop me down to a SIM only deal with a deduction, or you can do me a great deal. Now, it's up to you, but at the end of this call, I will have made that decision, and it will not be reversed. And I was quite stern with the guy at the other end of the phone. His name was Tom, very nice guy. So he looked at things, and basically he asked me some questions that hadn't been asked before. He said, do you work in a public sector? And I said, yes, I'm a civil servant. I work for the Crown Courts. Right, I can give you a perk straight away. Now, regardless of the phone, I can alter the price of airtime, which can drastically alter the price of what you consider to be good or bad at the moment. I'm going to keep in the back of my head, this is what he said, keep in the back of my head that you don't mind paying the price that you're at the moment, but if we can get it cheaper, great, and that you want the best deal on the most expensive phone on the market than from Samsung. I said, yeah, pretty much, that's it. I mean, I've been paying that money now for over, a year or more. So I'm not going to miss it if it remains the same. But if we can get it down less, brilliant. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't mind going to sim because I'm not really a teenager anymore and phones don't excite me. So he gave me a perk because I work in the public sector. I didn't know about this. And he gave me 5 codes. And these 5 codes are for... I can get every 2 years. So I can get 5 codes every 2 years. Each code is worth 2 years. So basically 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 10 years. Or I can gift them. What this perk does is you choose the plan that you want to be on, you know, unlimited text, unlimited data, all of that sort of stuff. And then they knock 20% off every month for 2 years. And I said, well, that sounds great. I said, it really does benefit me, obviously, because you're going to reduce the price. But the other thing that you haven't mentioned, and you always should, is that you put your prices up by between 5 and 14% every year in April, which is why my bill is so high now, because it's that percentage increase. But he said, yes, but think about it. He said 20% off when that increment does go up, which we have no control over really, because it's what all our competitors do, and we do get a charge from the industry for our usage. If it goes up by 6 or 7%, or even 14%, your 20% still keeps you below. It will have gone up incrementally by £1 or £2, but it won't be pushing the price up from the very start. So that first year, you'll still be below what it is. Then when the following year comes up, if it goes up by 5-6% again, that would be 12%. Then your 20% drops it off. If it goes up 14% and 14% again the next year, that's 28%. You still have 20% dropped off, so you're only paying 8% over 2 years. I went, yeah, that's good. I have to say that's not bad at all. We'll do that then. So then he said, this is what the deal that I could do for you at the moment. Obviously, the phone comes with a great deal anyway because you get these extras. And I told him, whoa, before you go any further, not interested in extras. These extras are always full of bump. Not really that interested. He said, well, let's go through it. You get a charger, which no phone comes with a charger anymore, and it's a fast charger. It comes with a case and a pen. So the case and the pen both together is £118 because it's an S Pen. I went, whoa, okay, that's good. You've got me interested there. And the third starter kit extra is the top of the range Galaxy Bud Pro Plus earbuds. And I said, well, I've got them already. And he said, yeah, it's a shame on that. But obviously it's nice to have a spare. If you don't want them, you could sell them. And I said, yeah. I'm just letting you know. If you're looking at value chains, that's not a great thing to give somebody. Because the value is lower for me because I'm not interested in them. Oh, the camera's doing my head in today. Let me just deactivate it again. And then activate. Hopefully that's okay. Sorry about all of that. Might have to do a pause and see whether that helps. In fact, I'll do that now. So I'm just going to do a jump cut. Okay, so I found out what the problem is and I can't do anything about it because it's a Windows update running in the background. Plus the WMI service is going mental. I'll look into that and see what I can do before next blog. Anyway, to continue this phone situation, he then gave me like 3 options and all this sort of stuff. To cut a long story short, I didn't have to put any upfront cost. And basically things dropped to me only... Ooh, just bear with me. I've got so many phones now. There we go. Right. There we are. I'm all with you now. Sorry about all of that. What happened is that with the 20% discount, with the reduction of loyalty, I'm now paying £15 cheaper than I was before with the most expensive phone. And I was quite happy with that. So I came away with a job done, my hair, job done with the phone, and more time this weekend to sort of like get some other jobs done. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, let's move forward with the news. And like I say, I can only apologise with the technical issues in this first 15 minutes already. Bloody hell. So let's move on. Let's get crack-a-lacking. So we start off with the war, because we always do. I've written down this article that was very, very, very recent that's going on. Pro-Moscow Ukrainian politician shot in an apparent assassination attempt. Oleg Tosaryov, who has been tipped to lead a puppet government after Russia's 2022 invasion, is in critical condition. He was shot twice at a sanatorium in Crimea. Ukraine and Russia have no suspects, and the assailant is unknown. An FBI-type case has been opened as a war crime. So I looked at that and went, that's not the best news article that I could have chosen, and I have absolutely no opinion on it. As an assassination attempt, for all we know, it was done by the Russians. For all we know, it's definitely a Ukrainian thing. He's in critical condition. Nobody wants to hear about deaths or anything. I know very little about the politics and what would happen after the war with politics, so I really don't have an opinion. So we then move to the UK, and I bundle all of this sort of like together. It's stuff that I've heard during the week, so none of this might be quite new. But it starts off with Keir Starmer was under fire after a speech this week that he made on around Tuesday or Wednesday regarding a possible ceasefire in Israel. Many Labour supporters resigned, and even though clarification was made later on in the week. Yeah, so I think it was something to do with the fact that the wording that he used seemed to indicate whether he was one-sided or not in regards to a ceasefire. Do they do it? Do they don't? He's very acting closely with the government at the moment, not taking too many chances. But apparently he worded it in a way where it angered a lot of people, including the back government, and that's why he's got all these resignations. Well, foot in mouth, what can you say? Then thousands attend at pro-Palestinian protest in London yesterday, demanding an end to Israeli attacks. So yes, I don't know what the exact number, but I think it was 22,000. Quite a lot. We all know that this Israeli conflict is something that we don't want now or ever want. But it's a little bit out of our hands. All we can do is be pro what the world wants, and we don't want this. So, yeah, and all these hostages and all sorts of stuff going on at the moment. Terrible. And then a little bit of sports news, so turn off for the next minute at least. If you're not interested, it's about Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury survives a win even after a knockdown in a fight against UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. Now, I was drawn to the attention of this yesterday, actually, from my friend Jake. And I happened to mention to him that I've never really been a big fan of UFC. Now, I do know it's a skill. I do know it's a sport. But when you're brought up with boxing, where it's a skill-based sport, obviously to knock the other person out, but there is a referee in there, and they split each other up. Trips and tumbles are also sort of like separated slightly. It's always to protect the other player. It's the skill of the type of shots that you're doing. UFC seems to be that if you fall over, they welcome the other bloke to come in and start elbowing you on the face when you're on the floor. and and using knees into the stomach and all sorts of stuff until you win. Well, that's not a skill. That's taking abuse from a mishap. And so therefore luck comes into it. Yeah, not a big fan of UFC. I may have got all wrong, but all I know is, yeah, not a fan. That ends the news. So we now move on to the shout-outs. And I love everything, really, from this part on. I'm just going to have a quick drink. Got a bit of fizz. I've got my orange juice down here. I'll be drinking that from now on. So I love the shout-outs. All of you people are sort of wishing me well, making sure I'm okay, commenting on anything that was in the last blog, asking me questions that my nephew and nieces might be interested in, what their uncle thought at the time and all of that sort of stuff. So the shout-outs this week, all these people have left a comment, are Gaming Since the 70s, Denny, Jambon, LFC Gamer and Vlogs, David Retro Games Played Badly, Robert's Retro Games, Colin Jones, aka Ponder, and Martroid. Again, slightly less than normal, but happy with that. These people are big supporters of me, want to make sure I'm okay, interested in what I say. That's all you can hope for, really, isn't it? So if you're watching this for the first time, I hope you get some enjoyment out of it. I hope we go on a journey together. So that's the shout-outs out of the way. So we now move into the big section, the questions. Yes, my God, this is where I start to sweat. Oh, my God. What are you going to be asking me? Will I have the answer immediately? Oh, so we start off. These are not in any order. And the first one today is Denny. Okay, well, with Denny, you know what we love to expect on this. Lots and lots of text. Some question at the end. And he dissects basically my blog, so love that, So let's read it out in my best voice, which is shit. Hiya, mate. Hope you are well. Busy week for me with work. Never seems to end. Yeah, cool. Wish I could start up my blog like that. So much better than the 5-minute waffle I gave. I remember playing conkers at school. I remember the old trick of soaking them in vinegar for a few weeks, then baking them in the oven to harden them off. Won many a contest that way. Do you know what? I always thought of that, because we all knew this as lads, that trick. But later on, I'm pretty sure I was told that was a complete waste of time. You might as well, the best thing that you could have done is put varnish over it. I don't know quite whether it helps. Vinegar's an acid. Baking would make it hard. It would, if the vinegar is still wet on it, put a coating of a sort. But you had to put I'll tell you what, I lost many a conker fight because I didn't learn how to do knots properly. You put a rope through the centre of it because you asked your dad to drill a hole. And you put your rope through, or string, and you hoped that the string wouldn't be the problem and that the conker would split apart, and that's you winning. But more times than anything, the string was the thing that knackered me up. The knot would fall off or whatever. So that's a nice memory to have, and it goes with my conker discussion last week. You continue. I was in Wales last week after the Storm Babbitt situation. All the fields were flooded, especially en route from Shrewsbury to Newtown. Literally all the rivers were overflowing. The government needs to stop giving away our money to other countries and sort our own issues out first, especially flood defences. Yeah, it is a tricky one. I know why they give money to the defences, which is, this is having an effect on food for the whole of the world. We're part of NATO, so we protect all our territories for NATO. But I do think we're over generous. We do have our own problems. This immigration problem also doesn't help. We need to care for our own, but then people that come into this country from years and years ago are now our own. They're our families. So yeah, I don't want to get into immigration too much. But yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. We seem to spend money every year on flood. You'd think we'd know about it being an island, and yet it just erodes away. And it erodes away down quick because it's the same bloody places that we're having to protect against flooding again. So obviously what you did last year weren't good enough, was it? I think they do it all on the cheap. That's the thing. One thing that really pissed me off down there was the new 20 miles per hour speed limit, which is absolutely ridiculous. You could walk to your destination quicker. Trust me, if it comes to England, folks will be complaining like mad as you had to do the 20 miles per hour for long, and I mean long stretches. Yes, as I said, I went to work a couple of times in the last 4 weeks, and the new 20 mile an hour zone came in on what was previously a 30 mile an hour zone. But the thing I hated about it was when you're coming in from the other direction, which is you're coming across country, you hit the 20 mile an hour zone, and the speed limit before then was 60 to 70 miles an hour. There was no dropping of speed to 50, then 40, then down to 20 in a gradual way. The way that I go to work, you're only in a speed limit of 30 miles an hour. There's a 40 mile an hour, then it goes down to 30 miles an hour again, and then you hit the 20 mile an hour. So what I'm trying to say is you're not really increasing, you're not coming from a greater speed. Yeah, because you're coming from a town situation, going out into the country, coming in from the country into the town, you hit this 20 mile an hour, damn smack, almost instantly. Oh, the amount of things that's going to cause a problem with. I'm totally with you on that frustration. I'm glad you decided to listen to a bit of rock music. I'm mainly rock, heavy metal. I absolutely adore electric guitar. From the middle 90s music has become abysmal, and the lowest it has been, seriously bloody awful. The kids these days listen to some right crap. Rap for starters. Yeah. Now, I've mentioned to Denny and I've mentioned to many people a number of times that music to me is very important. And I've had a greater appreciation of music since I studied it at school and learned to understand that every record or piece of music that's out there is really got to be in a form that can be written as music on sheet paper. So basically, it conforms. It may not be my type of music. Rap is one of them. I don't like rap, but there are many that do. So I tend to move away from the word crap, even though it rhymes with rap. Because, like I say, I had a terrible time trying to understand and like opera. But then you obviously find the odd one, and you have then a greater appreciation of it. Just because I don't understand it or it's not my style doesn't mean that it doesn't fit conformity of what music is. And there's bound sure to be a time where something will fall under the word rap. You'll accidentally hear it and go, that weren't bad. It will happen. It's law of averages. But I do understand what you're talking about there. I enjoyed the little topic you did on rare children's TV. Do you remember Mr. Trimble, The Magic Ball and Sky? Oh, now this is the first time reading this. Mr. Trimble. Trimble. No. That doesn't come to mind. The Magic Ball. Yes. If I remember rightly, The Magic Ball, just like all children's TV programs, you think there are more episodes of it, but there aren't. Was a very early 70s cartoon, bit like Bod. Drawn a bit like Bod is what I mean. Very simplistic, all about a magic ball. Go figure. And what this magic ball can do in a certain situation that was about that cartoon at the time. Very short piece, bit like Bod, 10, 15 minutes, I think. Yeah, just about remember that. I don't think they repeated that like Bod did, or Finger Bobs, or any of those. Don't think it was well remembered. You're starting to become more obscure, so I will say that. And Sky, yes, well, of course I remember Sky because it's science fiction. That's a mid-70s kids science fiction show. About an alien, I think, an alien boy that gets, let me think, gets trapped on Earth in the wrong time period. And he needs to try and get home. Again, I don't think it had many seasons. Did it have 2? 1? 2? Not more than 10 episodes. I would say it didn't go beyond 10 episodes. And again, an obscurity. Wow, you are coming up with some obscure ones for me now, Denny, that I'm having to think about. But yes, I remember Sky. And a couple of years later, I would get more into the horror stuff, like Children of the Stones and Labyrinth and Into the Labyrinth and things like that. But I did like those early science fiction kiddies shows, like the Tomorrow People, obviously. I liked all that. Right, unless you already know, can I recommend to you a new show on Netflix called Bodies, starring Stephen Graham. It revolves around an identical dead body which has been found in 1890, 1940, 2023 and 2053 in the same location. The story plays out in all 4 eras. Watch the first 2 episodes and it's brilliant. Star Wars Ashoka isn't too bad either, and if I got the pronunciation of that wrong, apologies. And when it comes to Star Wars Ashoka, I have now watched all of that. I started watching it 2 weeks ago. Didn't mention it because, obviously I've had a number of other things that I've needed to talk about, but I totally enjoyed it and I finished it off and it weren't too bad. Much better than some of the other Star Wars ones that have been out. Not saying that those have been dreadful, but there's definitely been a dip in quality. Didn't mind that one at all, to be quite honest, probably because I understood it more. That other story, wow, you've got me hooked. I really want to look that one up. Bodies. Definitely going to look that up after this blog. No, after the Formula One. That's what I'll do there. So thanks for recommending it. And the reason I like reading out things like this is it's just for you guys. Just think, I've read it out, so you've got now something to possibly look forward to as well. Bodies, don't forget it by the end of this blog. Go and have a look. The Hellraiser box set arrived for me too. It looks bloody brilliant. We'll watch it when I have my telly sorted out with its horizontal banding. Ah, yes, you did phone me up a week or so ago, and we just discussed your telly where you've got a band going across the horizontal aspect of your TV right in the centre, and you've done all the pixel shift and things that you can do, to try and get rid of the banding. But I've got a funny feeling it's an OLED TV, so basically it's the OLEDs that have gone. They're in a chain, these OLEDs, so they tend to go in a sequence because they're in series. And basically, I don't think you're going to fix that fault. And if you could, and it's possible, it's either going to cost more than it is worth. It looks very much... I'll tell you what, I think I recommended this to you last time. Put your model number into YouTube and see if somebody has done a teardown of that TV, so at least you can see what the issue is, and at least then an engineer might be able to look at it, and a little bit about what the problem is and what the parts cost. You continue. Good news for me. I've managed to get 2 releases off my wish list on DVD. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles and The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Watch both of those. Wow, they're the 90s? Yeah, 90s TV, I think. The only one I'm unsure on there is the Briscoe County. Oh, was that 80s? No, 90s, pretty sure. I remember the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Yeah, for definite. Right, question for this week. This is where it gets scary. Going back to the Twilight Zone, the movie. Oh, wow. It's a ballpark figure of one of my favourite shows, so I might have a chance here. Which particular story of the four was your favourite and why? And how do you rate the other three? Oh, good God. Let me think. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. 5 stories for a start. A lot of people say that, 4, and most people forget that there is a story at the beginning and end, which is a hitchhiker, and that is a story in itself. So we won't talk about that one. We will talk about the core ones. The first one is a bigot story. By the way, every Twilight Zone story in the movie was a remake of something that was already in the show. Apart from the hitchhiker one, I believe. So the first one was a bigot show, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago because it had an unfortunate death in it to the actors. And it put it into God knows how many courts and criminal prosecutions for that accidental death. But the bigot story was a good one. It's always good to start off, I think, with something that we should look in ourselves and basically recognise this trait in people or in yourself. So that was a good story. I don't know the order of these. I think the second one, well, the third story, if you count it with the hitchhiker, was Kick the Can. Now, that's set in an old folks' home. Some great actors in there. And if I remember rightly, for years and years and years, I counted the music in that segment to be beautiful. Yeah, the music. Jerry Goldsmith, by the way, which anybody knows Jerry Goldsmith to me is sort of like composer, like gods, along with, Ennio Morricone and the rest. But I've got a soft spot for Jerry Goldsmith. That's a lovely sentimental story, but from an audience perspective, people probably switch off with those. The next story, another rewrite, was a rewrite from a story that used to have Bill Mummy in it, who used to be the little lad in Lost in Space. This one was obviously redone, and it's about a little bratty boy who, if he doesn't get his way, does absolute awful things to his protectors. So his mum and dad and nanny and all that sort of stuff. The horrors that happen to them because he doesn't get the sandwich on time, doesn't get to ride his bike. In other words, he's under no laws whatsoever. The dangers of doing that to our children is what was supposed to be happening in that story. It's such a powerful one. There is a line that you cross between obedience and fun. And I think I've been grown up with some great values. But you let a lad or a little girl get away with murder for too long, oh, you don't want to happen like this little lad did. And the last story is a classic that has always been a hard one for me to mark because I so loved the story in the original series, which is A Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. That any remake, I think, is doing it an injustice. So William Shatner was in the first Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. And it's not about the monster in this one. It's about the terror of flight and what your mind can trick on you. That's pretty much the point of it. It was John Lithgow that was in the film version. And it was redone recently in the new Twilight Zone that was relaunched a couple of years back. Such a powerful story, but it was done well. And then, of course, you've got the wrap-up story, which is the hitchhiker. So it started off with the hitchhiker, telling these stories, and then you see the ending to that story and roll credits. How would I mark them? So, Nightmare at 20,000 feet and Kick the Can, I'm going to mark out as showstoppers. Love those. I think it's then going to be the Bigot story. No, it's not. It's going to be, the Bigot story, and then The Lad. Just purely because bigotry goes on now, and how we instruct our kids is just an ongoing thing. And I think the Bigot story is a much more powerful story. To wrap it all up with the Hitchhiker story is great. And that was not powerful because it's very short at the beginning and very short at the end, and is not really a story, but it is counted as one. So I'm just going to say, as a whole, I love the Twilight Zone, the movie. It could have been a lot more. Don't get me wrong. But you could see each of the directors that directed these segments loved the show and wanted to do a good job. I will say that. The Goldsmith score is gorgeous. Love it. You can listen to that now. I can hear the Kick the Can music going on in my head right now. It's starting to not irritate me. It's just that it's clouding my judgments on things. But I hope that was a good answer for you. Cheers, mate. As always, look after yourself. Say hello to your mum. And we'll speak soon once the Nightmare of Work has finished. Yes, we will do, matey. And thank you so much for giving me such an interesting first question and segment. And the second one goes to Gaming Since the 70s, which is my mate Steve. Steve, we do my salute, you bastard. Why are you so good? Anyway, that's all in jest. And we'll start off with what you say. So you've put, great blog, Dell, and I'm so happy that you've passed your exam. Well done, mate. I still can't believe all that palaver you have to go through to do that. It sounds like they're ultra paranoid and don't have a lot of trust in people, ? Yeah, no, I'll just stop there. Thank you so much. And that exam, I was so glad I got it out of the way. I think I've mentioned what I think is the intention of exams and training in general at work, and I want to not believe this, but I believe it's the truth. And that is that there are a lot of people that abuse the situation when they start with a company. They come in, we train them up, put them on really expensive courses to do their job. They get the best out of what they can, and then they leave very quickly. So they take away all the experience, and all therefore you are doing is taking rather than giving back. It's sort of a similar thing with football, I think. I think you'd have to ask LFC more on that. But footballers come up through academies. They then play in the main team. They play through the youth league first, and then they're sold on to other football clubs. The amount of benefit they got from training them up all the way from when they were a lad to then is just lost. And you do it because of money. Obviously, if the footballer wants to go, great. It's his career after all, or her career in the ladies' game. But it's the same sort of thing. You come in, you're all excited, you're doing the job. They say you need to go on this course. It's bloody expensive. You get a full network course, say, as an example. You then come away with a qualification. You do the job for a little bit longer. You try to get promotion. If you don't get promotion, then basically you wonder why. It could be just because, the person that's in the job wants to remain there until they retire. You don't know. But it's almost within a year or two of spending $3 or $4 grand that they go, and they take all that experience with them. So yeah, I won't dwell on that too much more, but I do believe some of that is in all the palaver that I was going through. I feel, so you carry on, I feel that recit money is a bit of a scam. Most people will be unsure and pay for it just to be safe, which is, I was one. There should be a refund option, or like you said, have a longer booking time. Seems like common sense to me. Yeah, you'd think. But from a business angle, They do state at the very beginning, it's a one-time offer. It's there if you want it. You don't have to take it. And there is no return of the cash if you pass the test, and you don't need to do the reset. I'd have liked it if they could have said you could pass it on to somebody else. That'd be nice as a gift. Nope. All that happens is the time runs out, and then basically it's lost. So you continue. Thanks for answering my questions so well as usual. Now, a couple of questions for you. One, my wife recently picked up a complete Sykes DVD collection, which I was delighted about as I'm a huge Eric Sykes fan. Have you watched much Sykes, and did you like it? Well, of course, Hattie Jakes. And, Eric Sykes. I watched it because my mum and dad watched it as a kid. I didn't buy the DVD box sets, but I did watch repeats when they were shown. And it, by the way, it wasn't shown that much. Eric Sykes is one of those weird ones. He's got one of those deadpan faces that's quite good for humour, because he can look so despondent and then look happy the next moment. And Hattie Jakes was just a joy, the wife. The policeman used to make me laugh that was in that show as well. But when I think about Eric Sykes, I think more, and I might be wrong here, I might even get it wrong totally, about a short film called The Plank, which had Tommy Cooper in as well, I think. 20 or 25-minute British short that was considered a classic for a long time. Quintessential English comedy that is just funny, and if I remember rightly, totally silent. It's a silent sketch film. So when I think about Eric Sykes, I think more about that than I do his TV series. Yet it shouldn't be that way, because Eric Sykes ran for years. How many years did that run for, Steve? I'm not quite sure. Did it run for 7 years? Was it almost the same as Terry and June? Pretty sure it was. Yeah. A staple point anyway, late 70s, if I remember rightly. Ran its course early 80s. I think I'm right with that. I think it also had comedy radio plays. I'd have to think about that one. Let's see, where did we go? So number 2. This one I feel you'll either laugh or groan at and roll your eyes. And I'll have a go. But one thing that annoys me is TV when they refer to watching box sets. They'll say stuff like the box set of whatever series is available now, or if you like that, you can watch the whole box set on demand, or you can download the whole box set by pressing whatever button now. Why does it annoy me? Because there's no box. How can you call it a box set when there's no darn box? You just download it. Yes, I know it's petty. Yes, I know it's stupid, but it does annoy me. Damn it, people, call it something like complete set or full set, not a box set. There's no damn box. What is your opinion? Although I'm guessing you'll call me a fool, but that's okay. Take care, mate, and love to your mum. I wish I could get het up about it, to be quite honest. I'm like you, though. It's not a box. Why are you calling it a box set? But when we're talking about putting a collection together, what do we do? What did we used to do? We used to put all of our toys and our collections into a box, and therefore it became a box set, of a sort. And it is a theoretical box, it's not a real box. It becomes a box set when you buy it in physical media, and that's where the term comes from. But ever since streaming come along, they should have given it a totally different name. It's not a box anymore. I'm with you on that. So when streaming suddenly started buying huge chunks of comedies and dramas and so forth, and they knew that there was a physical media out there, it was called a box. They should have, like how they were excited about now offering you a streaming service of where you can watch these whenever you want, come up with a new name. Sometimes series doesn't fit well. So I'm not quite sure what they've done. But then again, this is why they paid stupid money to people in marketing. It's because they should be coming up with names. Do you see what I mean? It's not for us to come up with them. But you can't call something a box when it's got no box. I'm with you on that. So, yeah. Take care, you saint, mate, and love to your mum. And I'll pass that on to her. Thank you very much, Steve. An interesting question. I wish I was intelligent enough to think of everything. But, like I say, I think sometimes even series is wrong. Because a series can break out into another series. Yeah. And sometimes series alter in the middle. Yeah. Not quite sure. It's definitely you don't want words like sequence and all sorts of stuff, do you? So great question, really. What can I say? Wow, brilliant. Moving on, Jambon. He loved Jambon to death. Brilliant. And he thank you so much for your gift to me for passing my exam. I'm looking forward to playing that. I haven't had much time, but I've got this Friday coming off and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to loading that up and playing. So thank you so much. Don't get too many presents. When they do come to me, I'm so appreciative of them. You know, I mean, I like to give things away. You know what I mean? And I like to give it to, you know, special people and all people that are friends. I know that people can't be like that. You've got your own worries, money, all sorts of stuff. But when I do receive something, I feel special. And when I feel special, that feeling is there for a couple of days. And it's great because it takes me away from some of the pains that I'm going through at the moment. Anyway, Jambon, let's move on to him. Hi, Del. Great news about you passing your test. Really pleased for you. The process sounded brutal, though. Lots of interesting topics in your vlog this week. The flooding was terrible in our town. People had to be evacuated, and one poor lady died because she couldn't get out of upstairs to escape the rising water. Tragic. Really hope this isn't the new normal. I think it is. Sorry to say, but I've seen too much on the news over the years. We'll be interested to hear which Iron Maiden songs and albums you like the best when you've had a chance to listen. Killers is my favourite album, I think. Never been able to enjoy the Bruce Dickinson albums to the same extent since I found out he was a conservative. Doesn't seem very metal to me. Yes, I'm going to have to start doing something with this, aren't I? I've bought it, haven't listened to it yet. I've got my friend Rock God telling me to listen to tracks called, what was it, Journey? And what did I mention last week? It was Journey. Got it written down. I mentioned them last week anyway. Journeyman and Running Free. So, of course, I'm looking forward to it because it's something new as well. It gives me an opportunity to something that I've dismissed to give it a chance. And this is where I was saying, you guys, you need to do that as well. You need to open your minds a little bit. There's not much left in our lives before we die. And you don't want to just cut off your nose to spite your face, is an expression my mum used to tell me. So, yeah. Definitely will fill you in with that. I'm sure Rock God, who's probably listening to this part, is going, agreeing with you or not about Bruce Dickinson, I don't know. But it's nice to know that I'm going to start listening about names, who they were, who set up the band, who's still originally in the band. It's going to be an interesting journey for me. The Hellraiser box set looks great, and I see the films are now streaming on Arrow Video, so I shall have to re-watch them. I was lucky enough to see Doug Bradley and all the original Cenobites at HorrorCon UK earlier this year. It was held in Rotherham, so they probably felt at home. They seem like a really nice bunch anyhow. Questions for next blog. If you don't mind, if money was no object and you could get professional makeup artists, costumes, etc., which horror film character would you most like to dress up as for Halloween? Which horror character would you most and least like to turn up at your doorstep for a trick or treat? Thanks for another entertaining blog. Wow, what a question. And oh my God, I bet you any more I'm going to have pauses here while I think. For the next vlog, if you don't mind, if money was no object and you could get a professional makeup artist, which horror film character would you most like to dress up as for Halloween? Well, the most disgusting and the one that everybody I think mentions is Freddy Krueger. But would I want to dress up as him? Because all through my childhood and all the times that I wanted to go to a Halloween party, I always wanted to go as Dracula. Found him such a mesmerizing character and all dressed up, to the nines, for the period of time that he was from, So we're talking about capes and, breast jackets and all of that sort of stuff. And of course, I used to like my waist jackets. I used to wear them going out every Friday and Saturday. Bought no end of them. Still got them. Can't fit in them. So Dracula was always the one. But if it was a professional makeup artist, it was a one-off and all of that, I can see me choosing Freddy Krueger over Dracula. And which horror character would you most and least like to turn up at your doorstep for a trick or treat? I'd love Dracula to turn up. I think you can't have a trick or treat party without having the main groups of monsters. Dracula, the werewolf, the ghost, the ghoul, the zombie, etc., etc. And I recommend people watch Monster Club to learn about those groups. Very great film. 1971. Vincent Price is in it. 1981, sorry. I'd hate for a werewolf to turn up. I'll tell you what, I'm not scared of a vampire biting me. But I do have a natural scare of being ripped or torn apart, because you just don't know how long your death is going to be, do you? It could be slow, could be fast. With vampires, you could come back. But yeah, the thought of having your guts and your legs torn off, oh no. And I think that was the big horror of the American Werewolf in London for me. Hope that's answered your question. Thanks for another entertaining vlog, and take care, mate, you say. And thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you, Jambon. Brilliant. Always love a comment from you. Then we get to LFC, a fellow person who does a blog. Got great appreciation for. Does a very fun blog. You definitely should go out there and watch it, especially if you're a footy fan. But he mixes things in with music and games and film pickups and everything else. And to be quite honest, you just come away entertained. That's all I can say. And I've got a greater insight of my mate. So here he goes again. He says, "Hello again, Del. I'm delighted you passed your exam. Well done. Sorry for the somewhat late response. I've been feeling rough due to side effects from my flu jab on Tuesday. Mostly fatigue and dizziness, though I'm slowly recovering." Yeah, I don't know how old you are, LFC, but I'm pretty sure you're young. I have my own opinion of flu jabs. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they're recommended, and always have been, for people of a certain age, so that if you do get the flu, it doesn't turn into pneumonia, and your immune system decreases as you get older. So you need a boost. But for people that are young, unless they've got some sort of other medical condition, like a bad heart or something, I tend to find flu jabs, I think, are over the top. Don't need them. I won't go down that route. It might be good to have that as a topic another day. But, good for you to wanting to stay healthy. Nothing wrong with all of that. Yeah, it's just like I say, I have an opinion where I should be getting them now because I'm in my 50s. My mum definitely should be. And people in their 20s, less so, But anyway, as much as I think that the Testarossa in Miami Vice is a stunning looking motor, Despite it being one of Ferrari's worst built, kit would too be my pick. You're near enough listed most of the reasons why it's my favourite of the two, even if it's not the biggest fanatic of Knight Rider. Mind you, it has one of the greatest intros, not only for an 80s show, but in general. Oh, yeah, that's debatable, but because I like Airwolf's intro over Knight Rider's. Then again, the amount of years that I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. And then when I finally did train and buy lessons for helicopter training, which meant going up in gliders and all sorts of stuff, couldn't afford it. But the hardest thing with a helicopter is the pedals. Got a yoke and a pedal. And you've got to use the mechanics of how having a blade system above you, keeping you above the air, how tilting it makes you move. But it's a wonderful thing. If you've got the money, it's definitely something that you should do if you're into that sort of thing. I miss that. I wish I had the money. Didn't get enough hours, didn't have enough money. Stopped that pretty quick. So questions for the next blog, you say. I know this debate has been going on since the test of time, but which do you think is the better football game for the Amiga? Right, specifically for the Amiga. Okay, got that. It's a rule. Kickoff 2 or Sensible World of Soccer? Oh my God, that is an age-old question, isn't it? I'm with the Sensible World of Soccer camp myself. However, I'm biased as it's my all-time favourite Amiga game. However, Kickoff 2 is still amazing. Now, do you know why? It is an amazing thing because I bought both, and I did buy them. I bought Kickoff 2 and I bought Sensible World of Soccer. And my mates were split. Two of my mates liked Kickoff 2. Two of my mates liked Sensible World of Soccer. I think little intricacies started to creep in, like banana shots and all that sort of stuff, which swung things into the Sensible World of Soccer's favour. I was never big at the football games. I always found that I was trying to control a full stop all the time and trying to make it swerve, and all I was doing really was kicking it forward. I could never really control it very well. But that's my own stupid fault. I should read the instructions for a start. But if I was to look back, I think I had more fun with Sensible World of Soccer than I ever did with Kickoff 2. Kickoff 2, though, I did feel was very slick, very fast, nicely animated for what there was. It did it right. But there's something about it that gives Sensible World of Soccer that little bit of an edge. Don't know. Could be simple or as basic as I don't like stripes on the field. You know what I mean? Don't know. Let's move on to the next one. Number 2. What is your favourite Coventry City football player of all time? Oh, you bastard. Oh. I watched it from a very early age, as I've told you the story, and I'm still watching it now. Let me see what names come into my head. Steve Agorovic, footballer, goalkeeper extraordinaire, probably the highest number of, they call them caps, I suppose, appearances for a club as a goalkeeper. He won wars, that guy. Loves David Speedy. Now, he was a great forwarder. This is very early days, though, David Speedy. I think I just liked him because of his name at first. Speedy, yay! Never forget that. Cyril Regis was always on my mind when I was watching the football because he was such a huge presence. I mean, my God, he was like, how tall? Built like a brick shithouse. Not the fastest and daintiest person that you'll ever have with ball control. But being a forward again, he didn't half kick that ball in the back of the net. Mickey Ginn, or Ginn, Great player as well. I like midfielders. I like midfielders that basically are strikers as well. Nicky Jim was more that sort of central midfielder that didn't really go for glory. He liked to pass to the forwards to score the goals. He was great. You can't forget Gordon Strachan. I remember he came in as a player, obviously manager, passionate for the club. Not that entertaining on the pitch. Very, very headstrong, like most Scottish people. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, it's just brilliant at the game, one-minded on what needs to be done on the pitch. But not like a Georgie Best. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that talent, not the same sort of talent, not the same sort of fluency. We can't forget Dion Dublin. Dion Dublin, wow. After Cyril Regis. Yeah. Again, another talented, huge player that did a lot for the club. Trouble is with him, I think he was a bit of a fouling bastard. Excuse my French, but he pretty well was. But that didn't matter when I was watching him play. But putting all those together, I think Coventry made one of the biggest mistakes with selling a player that I really, really enjoyed seeing coming through the ranks in Darren Huckabee. Darren Huckabee was one of those players that if he kicked the ball sweet, you had no chance. It was in the back of the net. Trouble is, he didn't learn to control the ball that much with Coventry, and some of those shots were just stupid. I mean, he'd kick it from virtually the halfway line towards goal. Why? Other than trying to impress or didn't see a way to go, some of the shots he did, they were terrible. Oh my God! If you were trying to aim for the goal, you were 5 miles away from it. That's how bad it looked. It looked Sunday League, some of the shots. And I was so disappointed when we sold him to Norwich. And I followed his career with Norwich for the first couple of years. And he wasn't doing that great in the first couple of years. But I think his best days were at Norwich. Don't know what he's doing now. I think he's a manager. No, I think he's an assistant manager. Not sure. I don't know also what his memories are of Coventry City. You know, whether he has fond or not, because he played for Norwich longer than he played for Coventry. I think at least double the amount of time and double the amount of appearances. So, yeah. So, I hope that answers your question. Third one. Well, I've just pre-read the third one, and it's a non-question. You've put white onion or red onion. I'm allergic to onions. Can't answer the question. So, neither. Yeah, a lot of people know I'm allergic to some foods. I can't eat mushrooms, skin of the tomato. Onions is one of those things where I'm so disappointed by, because onion is a seasoning. It tends to be, with me, it's a percentage of onion that I can't have. If you put it in a burger with the meat, as long as it doesn't take up like 5% of the content of the burger, I'm all right. You put onions on top of a burger, my throat swells up, closes up. So yeah. So thank you so much for those questions. That was absolutely brilliant. Salute to you. Can't wait for your next blog, mate. David, retro games played badly as usual, keeping me company at work. Very grim, rainy night. Congratulations on passing your course. I'm a huge fan of Iron Maiden. Hope you enjoy the albums. Cool. Looks very much like you're all going to want me to listen to these Iron Maiden albums a bit sooner than I was expecting. Okay, we'll make that a task. Okay. Great question about the bow. Do you know what? How stupid of me for me to not remember Forbidden Forest. But that's the nature of a blog. It's what's in your mind at the time. If anybody knows me, you'll know that I've even done a 8-bit classic retrospective on Forbidden Forest. It's one of my favourite games. And of course, it's got a bow in it, you know. I mean, if you look at Defender of the Crown later on, you know, as a console game, when they did Defender of the Crown 2, there's a section as you as Robin Hood firing a bow in that. But there's so many games, and I can't remember them all at once, and it's all to do with recon memory. And I dare say at the time, Forbidden Forest was just far out of my brain. I was remembering more things like Stronghold than I was a fantastic game like Forbidden Forest. I would go with Strangers Wrath on the Xbox. I would go with Strangers Wrath on the Xbox. Don't know what I was talking about there, matey. I do apologise. What was that about? I would go with Strangers Wrath on the Xbox. No. Stronghold. Love that game. Great choice. Yes, I thought that would... You see, like I said, it just came into my mind. I remember all the arrows you see on the screen. It was like, how the hell do you dodge them? The Magnum Ferrari was a 308. Was a soft topper standard, but they modified the car so that Tom Sellers's fit is a very tall chap. I knew they did something about the car. My personal favourite was a 328 GTO. Well, we know your cars. You drive around in a Lexus, don't you, you rich bastard? No, I'm only joking with you. Dr. Snuggles was awesome. Oh, I'm glad somebody remembered that. I wondered what the hell I was talking about at the time. I used to have the Vixen poster on my wall. I never did, you know. I did put posters up for a greatest number of time, but when it came to computing posters, I think the only one I put up was the Elite ships from the game on the wall, so I knew what the ships I was going to be up against. You know, Fargoids and all of that. I used to have the Vixen poster on my wall. Speed limits are for mere mortals. That's true. Got my fingers crossed for Demolition Man 2. Yeah, wasn't it strange that Demolition Man did quite well respected. Well, not respected, quite well received. Quite a lot of comedy. Great story that there was no Demolition Man 2. Yeah, a bit weird. Always wondered what happened to Simon Phoenix. No, not Simon Phoenix, but Demolition Man. Spartan, isn't it? John Spartan. Yeah. As always, enjoyed the trailers, mate. Take care. My pleasure. Thank you so much for some great observations in there. I can't quite remember the Stranger's Wrath. I'll have to think back. I might even have to go back to my blog on that myself and see what I was talking about. Thanks for so we go to Robert's Retro Gaming, where we all know Robert. Brilliant. What's he put? He's put, thanks for the mention. I'm not back from holiday yet. Still have about 4 days until we get home. I enjoyed watching the remainder of the blog. And wow, some memorable movies on that. Great to hear about your hard work paying off on the course, Del. Oh, thank you so much, Robert. Like I say, I hope you're enjoying your holiday. You lucky git. I haven't had a holiday in years. I don't count me being in the house off work trying to get my blood pressure down as a holiday. I count that as long-term sick. I haven't been on holiday, therefore, for years. Yes, I need to change that. So thank you so much. So love your channel, matey. We'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, another little drinky poos. Nice to know. I think the camera has settled down a bit. We move to Colin Jones, a.k.a. Ponder, our friend. Oh, so happy for you that you passed that exam. Next one, Bo, Forbidden Forest. See? Forbidden Forest, should have had that. In reality, a spider's superpower... Here we go. This is where we're going to go into the science of why a bloke can't be a spider going up a wall. This is going to be fun. It's not a dig at me. It's to get a reaction. He's a crafty bastard, you know, old Colin. It's a bloody comic book. But anyway, look, in reality, Spider's superpowers come from its size, double the length, square the area, cube the volume. A radioactive bite would just cause damage, not superpowers. I'm sure you already know this, though. That's the funniest thing that's happened in this blog so far. Thank you. I'll take that into consideration next time I see a glowing spider that's been near some radiation. Thank you so much. Sorry. I think the analog 3D will be a good product, but too expensive for anyone but true enthusiasts. You could pick up a working Nintendo 64 for less than this will sell for. It's also very coincidental timing, given the development of the Nintendo 64 core for the Mister. I hope they aren't looking to profit from Robert Phelps' hard work. Kudos if all their own work, but can't shake that feeling. Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that. Yes, this is going on from last week where we were talking about the Nintendo 64 in the Mister, the core, and a new 3D accelerated board that's coming out. So yeah, I'm sort of like with you on that, really. I must admit they've got some very big talent working on the cores for the Mister. Long may that continue. Personally, I do not believe in the supernatural at all. Just because something is strange and apparently unexplainable doesn't mean it can't be explained. It just means we don't know. Coincidences happen. It's just statistics. Karma is a deserved coincidence, but a coincidence all the same. Yeah, I mean, I always like to think that beyond the explanation that makes it bland and boring, there is something that I don't know about that's wildly makes me rethink and relook at life. That's why I won't dismiss it. And there we go. Oh, now we've got the phone going. Bloody hell. We'll just wait for that to end. Might be a good place to do a jump cut maybe, so just bear with me. Okay, sorry about that, but I think this might happen again. I've noticed that my mother is outside the front talking to somebody, a neighbour, and she didn't hear the phone go. And so therefore the phone's going to ring again and again and again until somebody picks it up. So not an awful lot I can do about that. Not quite sure where we got to, but I knew we were looking at Colin Jones's stuff, and it was the Mister, I think. So let's see. Looking to profit from Robert Phelps. Yeah. Personally, I do not believe in the supernatural. Yeah, we did that. I do remember Dr. Snuggles, but never saw Vicky the Viking. So many good shows mentioned. Yes, thank you so much. And yes, I do remember Vicky the Viking. It was sort of like an Asterix the Gaul type thing. Happy memories, because I used to see it. It was a nice little cartoon. Have you read the book Starship Troopers? It's almost completely different to the movie. Yes, I have. So I've read the book, seen the film, read the comics, and then looked at the sequels to the film. It's not like it's my favourite book or genre, but I was captivated it when I first read the book. So I was looking forward to it when the film came out, and the rest is just there for an explosion of other mediums that it's been pushed into. Question for the next blog. What's the deepest you've gone into a computer or other electronic device to diagnose a problem and actually fix the device? I've just used an oscilloscope to diagnose a faulty inverter chip in a VIC-20, the 7406 chip. I'll update if a replacement works when it arrives. Interesting question, because as I told you, and many I've told you, I've mended quite a few computers that were returned to a shop for money off of a newer computer. And I saw lots of computers coming in, Atari 800s, Oryx, Spectrums, and so forth. So I had the benefit of, before they were being chucked out, having the ability to look at the insides and have a little look and see if I could fix any of them. Didn't fix many, but I did fix a few. A lot of them were just cosmetic problems, you know, where the case had snapped, where the power went in, you know, the pegs had gone, you know, but obviously with those early days, there were no sort of like universal chip holders. They were soldered to the board. So all I had, the great thing that I could do is multimeter them to death, you know, for continuity and voltage. But I learned an awful lot for when I did go into electronics as part of my higher national diploma when I finished my YTS. What's the deepest I've done? Well, I've done more diagnostics over network. I remember, and I've still got it, a network diagnostic box where you do end-to-end connections. So you could check the RJ45 lead, you know, loop it into itself, where you could put network end connectors into the switch, and then you plug your box into the switch and test the IP addresses. So I did a lot of that sort of diagnostics. And like I said, I worked on a number of computers, but the most I used really was a soldering iron and, you know, a multimeter. I did use an oscilloscope on a VIC-20, on a Commodore 64 once, on the VIC chip. I was following a process on YouTube very, very early on, I think like 2012, where a guy was explaining the frequencies, that when this was coming in as a voltage, it should have been above this line and all that sort of stuff, which was showing that some of a chip had blown, probably around the RAM, if I remember rightly. And then when he tested all the RAM and then replaced a couple of RAM chips, it actually fixed the problem. I know that though didn't use an oscilloscope very much, other than at school. It was an expensive piece of kit. They were all held like ghetto blasters that you took away from the edge of the science lab, brought to your desk, your breadboard, and then the guy would tell you what to set the oscilloscope to, you know, arrange, so that you could check resistors and capacitors, you know, by the sine wave. And then we learnt about how to use maths for the sine wave, you know, and working out Ohm's law and all sorts of stuff, you know, voltage, power, yeah, Christ, Ohm's law. Going back a little bit now in my history, Colin. Nothing like you've ever done, Colin, is me. You've done far more. Jealous of you a little bit in that retrospective. I wish I'd have continued. I found it very pleasant and relaxing doing it, and frustrating, don't get me wrong, because my eyesight's not brilliant and my fingers are fat, so don't get me wrong. But yeah, if I could have done more back in my youth, I would have done. Yeah. And then we end with Martroid. It's a long weekend here in New Zealand, Del. So I'm enjoying your blog this morning while we're away at my partner's parents' house in... Oh my God. Now this is where Down the Rabbit Hole's going to need to help me. You're in Canada and it's Omakora? Omakora? No, can't spell that. Can't pronounce that. Of course, the weather here is the opposite of you in the UK, so we're in the middle of spring at the minute. Very happy to hear your hard work has paid off with your exam. Anyway, as always, thanks for doing what you do, mate. Love it. And that ends the comments. And that end one just fills me with hope for me, and love and respect. What a nice thing to say, that they look forward to next Sunday or anything I do, to be quite honest. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And we now move on and we get to what I've watched on YouTube. Less a little bit here. I've been trying to go to bed and get more sleep. Hasn't worked out, but better than it normally is. Just have a bit of orange. we know we have my stay points on what I watch, but the others are equally quite good if you're interested in that particular subject. This week there was no tech moan, so of course it makes it a bit easier to talk about my two favourite shows because one of them wasn't even there. But the other one was This Week in Retro, which had a place this week. Their subjects this week, of which there are generally three. Pie Storm Comes to the Atari. The next one was What We Used Before Google Search. And the last one is Can Playing Games Cause You Harm? Not the best of subjects in the world, but I was really, really reminiscent of what we used to use before Google Search. Because, it all brings back that Ask Jeeves web crawler, all of those sort of stuff that we used to have when we had things like Netscape browsers, all that sort of stuff. So that was nice to reminisce about that. The Pie Storm is nice, but just because you're listening to about another bit of technology that has been around for a while on Amigas, and something I know a little bit about. But again, if you never had an Atari ST, it's a subject. It's just nice to listen to. And then Can Playing Games Cause You Harm? I'll let you make your own judgments on them. That wasn't a particularly fantastic section. And like I say, no tech moan. So we move on to other stuff that have just randomly come up in my stream that I've watched and thought were all right. So we've got Stuart George's Home Movies. Now that came up as a short in my YouTube action panel, where he was going through his vinyl collection of movie soundtracks. And it was part 2 of 2. So I looked purposely for part 1 and then watched part 2. And he's got some great vinyl. I didn't agree with his comments. He said, what a fantastic score this is and all this sort of stuff. And I've kept it in brilliant condition. Well, yeah, I hope you have. All vinyl should be kept in as good a condition as you possibly can. But I think he puts John Williams on a plinth a bit too high for me. My own personal reasons. But it was great because you get to see the covers again, the double albums, without having to look through your own vinyl collection. And believe me, I've got a vinyl collection and it's pretty big. So that was nice. Then we moved to Wertherby, and I mention him irregularly because sometimes the humour can grate. But when he does go on a rant, and he goes on a very, very big rant, it's funny. It's comedy gold. And he came across a game which I can't believe myself how much it is from what I saw of it. But it's called Skull Island Rise of Kong. It costs about 50 quid, this game. And the rant he goes on, 3 to 4 minutes ranting about this game. Where we are with games at the moment, all of that sort of stuff. And it was just so funny. I watched it twice. That's how funny it was for me. So if you want to cheer yourself up or want to hear a lot of swearing, watch the review on Wertherby of Skull Island Rise of Kong, because it will just bring a smile to your face, I'm sure of it. Then I mentioned last week about watching a remake or a pilot that was doomed of Only Fools and Horses in the States. And there was another channel called Cineworld. This is obviously therefore come up in my YouTube action plan of things to watch because of my watching of that Only Fools and Horses episode. This time it was about the Vicar of Dibley, where the vicar was played by Kirstie Alley. Equally as bad. Jokes that were absolutely so similar, the pace was even the same. Little changes here and there. Not a patch on ours. You can understand why it never made it, as a past pilot stage. That's the thing. Because they either took it too literal or changed it to a point where you're missing the point. Then we get to Cold Beer. Now he does all he generally does is week-long sales and recommendations. So I keep him on a sort of like arm's length type thing, but close to what I watch every week, because I'm always interested in a sale, and I'm always interested on a game that's been discounted to a point where it's nothing, or has dropped considerably to the point where I'm interested and want to buy it. So Cold Beer has been the one this week that's told me about the Halloween sale at Steam, the weekly sale at Steam before the Halloween Steam sale, etc. And he's kept me entertained with some of the games and the prizes. So that's good. And then I listened to Carl Gosling. And there's a reason why I listened to Carl Gosling, because I thought he did the most immersive and knowledgeable review of a headset that I've got coming tomorrow, all being well, and stock, because I've bought the MetaQuest free VR headset. Everybody knows I've got an Oculus 2 or a Meta 2. I wasn't going to buy the third one. I was going to give it some time. But obviously after so many years, my Oculus 2's battery is not particularly brilliant. And this being a newer model has got more size of hard drive, and it's got a different type of lens. It doesn't use pancake lenses anymore. So those little circles that are on the lenses have gone. And the resolution is higher. And as you know, I'm a big 3D film watcher. So I can now watch my free films again, this time with improved sound and improved visuals. So yes, worth it. That's coming hopefully on Monday. The price is eye-watering. We'll just say you're in the ballpark figure if you thought £600 plus. So expensive. And I had to think twice about it. 3 times, actually, if you want the exact number. And then we get to my friends that I chat with during the week. They are Rock God, Jake Talks Movies, Did You See That? And the Friday and Wednesday night chats. Less output this week, so it should be quite quick to go through them. Rock God 2004 was obviously in a lot of chats, but he only really did an Exorcist unboxing. He hasn't been well. You could see it in the video, but still a brilliant thing to watch if you've got the odd 10 minutes and you're interested in that type of subject. Please, all of these are in my more part of my YouTube. So if you go down to the read me section about what this blog is all about, you'll see lots of links. Every single one of them is a gem. Please visit them. Then we've got Jake Talks Movies. He did Slasher Sunday, so I was part of a chat panel on about slasher films, and he did a collection update. So his collection is growing incredibly fast, faster than mine, and mine's going pretty fast. And how he keeps up, I don't know, but more, you know, power to your elbow, I suppose is one expression. He bought this in the last week, a Transformers Steelbook box set, a couple of Film Vault releases in Scarface and Goodfellas, couple of box sets like The Exorcist, all sorts of goodies. Absolutely wonderful. Definitely worth watching. Did you see that? I watched a little bit of the movie chat. The sad news about Did You See That and Mike in general is that he's doing one more chat this week. So it's a live chat stream. It's going to go on for quite a few hours. It's got lots of guests. I'm not involved this time, but it's the last one, and he's then going to do no more movie chats for the time being. He will move on to doing his other type of video shows. I don't know the reason for it. I'm sure it was going to be listed on why in the channel itself on the day of the movie chat. All I can do is wish him well, and that comes from the bottom of my heart. And then, of course, as you know, I watch Playtendo Guy in a movie chat format on a Wednesday, and I watch Scott the Movie Critic on a movie chat on a Friday. although this Friday double dipped with my friend Mainmeister, and therefore I was flitting in and out of both of those for the extent of their broadcasts, for which the Mainmeister one went on for 3.5 hours. Bloody long. So I'm just going to take a break at this point and splash my face, and I'll be back in a moment. Yeah, so thank you for that pause. I'll just check the lip sync, make sure we're okay. Might as well. See if that does anything. Yeah, I think everything's fine. I always do that just as a precaution. So I had a great time talking to my friends, Jake, Ryan, Rock God, Scott. Many chats we have during the week. Cheer me up. And so we move into what I've watched of all of you guys, and on your own channels. I love your channels. They cheer me up no end. And we move with, therefore, to Down the Rabbit Hole. And as always, been bloody busy. My God, his content. Very varied. He did a Star Frontier House Rules. So if you're into your D&D, Star Frontiers is a great thing to try and get into if you're not into the sword and sorcery sort of thing, and like a little bit of space. That's good. That was interesting. Not that I do much D&D, but I've played enough to know what he's talking about, and it's therefore very interesting. He did a little look at a Vectrex game called Wet Cat, and I love the Vectrex, so he's instantly got me hooked on that. And then he told us about another recipe for Romulan ale if you're into your Star Trek. And he actually did the recipe in front of us, shook it all up in his nice cocktail shaker, drank it, and he said, very nice. Something for me to do then, possibly, if I'm ever holding a party. Might look into doing some things like that. That'd be great. Then we move to my mate Steve, and as you know, Steve's got a great gaming channel. I want it to be as successful as his last one. He only did one this week, though, which was Hercules. And it's been on a lot of people's tongues just recently, as the games Hercules and Yolanda. Stressful, as stressful a game as you can have, and so funny to watch because of the amount of deaths that are in it. I mean, you only have to move 1 foot, and if it's the wrong direction, you're dead. It's a strange game, lots of levels. One of those ones that's probably more suitable for a how quickly can you complete the game, a time thing. It's definitely a memory game to me. Oh my God, hated it from start to finish, and couldn't see the point in it. And my more experienced head gives it more clout, if you see what I mean. Something for me to possibly go back to. I mean, why not? Why not go back to a game that you never really liked much, just to see if your opinion has changed of it? The thing that you didn't like about it might be the thing that you like about it now. So always good to watch Steve on Gaming Since the 70s. Absolutely a knowledge fest and fun event. Then we get to Robert's Retro Gaming, and we know Robert really well. He's on holiday at the moment, but his content still comes out. He's up to Minecraft Play episode 96 and Minecraft in Exile episode 85. And he did some more Atari 8-bit, some not classics in here, but ones that were interesting. There was Robot Minion, I think it was called, Dark City Road, and a game that I was more familiar, I think, on the C64, which was Red Max, which is a follow-up to the last V8. If you didn't like the last V8, Red Max is a little bit more forgiving, I'll say that, but still as awkward and irritating in its control system as it ever was. So take that with a pinch of salt, but definitely worth watching Robert's channel. Then we get to LFC Gamer and Vlogs, and as I've already told you, I'm a big fan of blogs, and LFC does a great one. He did a tribute to Bobby Charlton, who died last week, and then showed some of his pickups for films and games, and some of his pet peeves. Very enlightening to know about people's pet peeves. It's what tells us what switches us off and what switches us on. in regards to what we do in life. So definitely worth a watch. And then, of course, Ponder continues to do his thing, which is he does a blog once every month, but he then does everything for the community. He's done his 2 high score challenges this week. Bosconian, which is an arcade game, and he's done Ghost in the Shell, a PS1 high score challenge. Ghost in the Shell I'm not that familiar with on the PS1, but it was entertaining. I did watch it all the way through. He did did better than I would ever do. That's not hard though. Definitely worth a place. And then we get to Seb's place. Seb's come on in leaps and bounds, and some of the stuff that he's come up with has been so insightful. But he's up to part 5 of playing every SNES game that was in the PAL range, not the American range, not the Japanese ones, not the European ones, the PAL ones, up to episode 5. And I think he's only like at letter E or F, can't quite remember, but they're always entertaining. You get to see him play a bit of the game. He talks a little bit about it, shows the box art. Great. And that comes to the end of the blog, other than for me to mention a very important event. I mentioned it last week. We're getting very, very close to it now. Everybody that I've talked to is getting excited about it, and that is Mainmeister's charity stream, for which by now most people know I'm involved. I'm sort of sitting in the background, making sure, doing all the lookups and things that might be needed, giving a bit of support for my mate. Obviously I'm not going to be involved like a celebrity star, but I'm still looking forward to it. People might challenge me. I don't know. I'll be sitting there helping, and I'll be hopefully getting a little bit involved. Definitely I've put in an auction item for the charity. It won't be very long now before the bank account details for where you can donate will be announced. And the amount of stars, my God, this is bigger than going to a retro game event in like Blackpool or Nurg. I mean, it's got more stars than there. They've got longer time to actually talk. And it's an opportunity, I suppose, as well. For you to listen to some insight and possibly maybe ask a question. Time will be tight, so do expect that might not be something that can be done. But my God, is it going to be fun? The fun is going to be there, and it's going to be wide-ranging, and it's 12 hours free entertainment to you guys. What more can I say? The guy really, really wants to give to the community, give to charity, and basically entertain us all and take up half of his day. And when I say half of his day, the other half of the day is sleeping. So, he's taking up the whole of his day, really. When you get to the end of that stream, you could still nip out and watch fireworks because it's November 5th. Which brings me to a little insight, really, because countdowns have been on my mind an awful lot. I mean, psychiatrists say, and I always remember this, that some of the stressful things that we do are losing a spouse, changing job, moving house. But I've got to put all of these events as up there with stress, like Christmas. God, how stressful is Christmas? And countdowns in particular. The countdowns, I mean, Christmas starts in October now, or even earlier. The Christmas decorations are now in there. The tubs of chocolates have been there since, I don't know, September. Drives me mental. And then at work, and then, in our normal conversations, it'll be, have you done your Christmas shopping yet? Have you done your Christmas shopping yet? It's October. Oh, only 60 odd days to go. 60 days? 60 days? For Jesus Christ's sake. I mean, do you do that with your birthday? Oh, gotta get your present. I mean, it's in the next 2 months, isn't it? Jesus, gonna have to think about that. 2 months? Jeez, honestly, it does my head in. Countdowns. Yeah. Oh, flipping hell. Buying the meat, buying the veg, getting the presents, putting the decorations up. Why am I thinking 90 days ahead? Get hell, get a life. Little rant there. Might as well show what's arrived this week. As you know, these omnibuses, they come in very sporadically, but generally I get them all at the times when I ain't got the money. This one is one I think I mentioned last week. It's volume 2 of a range called the Marvel Zombies. I don't know if you can see that very well. Marvel Zomnibus returns. I think it's the last one. So I mentioned the Zombieverse before, and it was the introduction of how the Marvel Zombies came about in the first place, which started off in Ultimate Fantastic Four as a disease in another multiverse. But it's interesting, you know, because you're seeing Spider-Man as a zombie, Wolverine as a zombie, Captain America as a zombie. Their brains are muggled in the fact that, you know, they need blood to survive, you know, brains eating skin, but they were heroes before. It's a bit of a conflict. So these are interesting tales, very horror intensive, very graphically horror intensive. It's why they have a restricted rating on them. I think you need, yeah, it's a so remember, comic books don't really come too strict, so this one's under parental advisory. But I would question mark some of that when you see some of the graphic art in this. Then we'll just switch to the Galaxy Cam for the films. We've got Talk to Me Steelbook, which I thought was an interesting, and looks like the Tomorrow People. Look at that. 4K. You might be able to see a media trailer for that. Quite looking forward to watching that one. You'll mention that I was disappointed about not being able to get the Meg 2 as a steelbook when it was announced, because they'd restricted it to 1,000 entries and they'd gone in the first couple of hours. They've turned their mind on that, and they've now released it as a steelbook, Meg 2, so I can now have at least my Meg 1 and Meg 2 steelbooks with no gaps, so I'm not going to miss the film, even though it's a terrible film. It's one of those popcorn, happy fun sort of like movies, you know, watching sharks eat people in stupid situations. But the special effects are really ropey, apparently. Then there's this film that I missed. It's a very old film, in the 90s, early. Ghost Dog with Forrest Whitaker. Now, I like Forrest Whitaker. Done some interesting stuff through the years. So I'm going to give this one a try because it's got a sort of samurai type element to it with a bit of gangster in it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then for cheap, I managed to upgrade to Gremlins to 4K. Not the best transfer in the world. In fact, actually, it's quite panned for its transfer. I'm going to hold back on my feelings on that. I know there's going to be a lot of grain because it was a soft-lit production. But Gremlins is one of my favourites. I think that they've enhanced the colour. I don't think it can look worse than the Blu-ray, although some people will turn around and say, it can, you wait till you watch it. But we'll see. And we'll just return to camera view for a second, just to say that we're now moving into the media section, and I hope you have some enjoyment there. I always like putting the media section together. It gives you an insight on what I've bought, what I've watched. So I'll come back at the end just to finish off. We'll move to, just bear with me, media playback now. And you know what I've got to do here? I've got to turn my yap off, so you can get to watch some lovely trailers. So I'll do that now, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. Billy Pelser has a nice home.
Billy, is that you?
Yeah, Mom, it's me.
A nice job. a nice girl.
If you're not doing anything this Thursday night, maybe you'd like to go out on a date with me?
I'd love to.
And loving parents who are about to give him
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
the most unusual gift he ever got.
What is it?
It's your new pet.
Come on, Barney, be a good dog. My dad gave it to me.
But there are a few things to keep in mind. If you expose it to the light, you may hurt it. If you get it wet, it will multiply.
All that from water? They got wet?
Yeah, plain water.
And most important, no matter how much they beg, never, never let them eat after midnight. Because when they do, they change. They become clever, mischievous,
What's going on here?
and dangerous.
Gremlins, huh? Little monsters.
Right.
Hundreds of them.
Well, I don't know, maybe thousands.
They've been here too. Billy, what are these things? Where do they come from?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, I know. But in a few hours, you're gonna have a major disaster on your hands.
Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante. They'll be expecting you.
The way of the samurai is one of immediacy, and it is best to dash in headlong.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
It's poetry. The poetry of war.
You've got a really big problem here, Louie. Seems like you're directly responsible for it. Your mystery man fucked up. Now, what the fuck is his name?
Ghost Dog. Ghost Dog?
He said Ghost Dog.
It's very valuable. It's totally untraceable.
I've always given you my respect.
They're gonna whack your Ghost Dog. The whole fucking family's looking for you. Going after him could be very dangerous. I've been expecting you.
Music makes me lose control. This is not just rock and roll. Hip hop digs right to the soul. Music makes me
Ghost Dog, power equality.
Always see everything in brother.
Now here we go.
Le chocolat reste le meilleur en réalité.
Understand, French?
I never understand a word he says.
Then that's your best friend?
Yeah.
Have you seen the group chat? They're doing it again tonight. No. Please. It's my mom's Remembrance Day. I just want to forget about it.
Who's up?
I'll do it.
Cannot go for more than 90 seconds. Am I clear?
What happens after 90 seconds?
Don't want to stay. Light the candle to open the door. Blow it out to close it. Put your hand on it. Now say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
What did the hand feel like?
It felt amazing. I could see and feel everything on the other side. So my mom, she was trying to reach out. I'm here. Still been saying stuff.
You've been saying stuff.
What if we opened the door but we didn't shut it?
Oh my God, they followed us.
I like it. They're not gonna stop. They're never gonna stop.
We need your help. We're detecting increased aquatic activity 25,000 feet deep in the trench. It's an ancient ecosystem untouched by man. Whatever is down there is trying to make its way to the surface.
This was a bad idea.
Just a little bit.
Jonas, we've got company.
That's the biggest Meg I've ever seen.
Biggest Meg anyone's ever seen.
That's the apex predator.
Everybody make it to the station! You can make it! Keep going!
3 massive Megs and who knows what else have escaped the breach.
You just hope it goes better than last time.
What happened last time?
You don't want to know.
This ain't the end. I saw you again.
Go!
We've never seen this before. They hunted in packs.
We can relax. This place, Meg-proof. I mean, Jonas was always afraid of this, but I was also thinking...
And there we have it. It looks fun, doesn't it, Meg 2? But really, apparently it's really ropey. But always lovely to... what I was getting into at the end was listening to the track Barracuda. I'm pretty sure that's done by Hart, if I remember rightly. What a voice that that lady's got from Hart. My God. I mean, I love the track Alone and These Dreams. Barracuda was always one of my favourites, though. And that's strange coming from someone like me, because that's what we were talking about Iron Maiden earlier. That sort of genre, really. But, oh yeah, Heart. I've got a great respect for them. What else was I going to say? Oh, next week. So, of course, because of the charity stream, you might be thinking, what's going to happen next Sunday then? Because that's when you do your blog. And you're going to be 12 hours into a charity stream. Well, that's where I have to do my little bit for charity. And I have to move my blog recording to Saturday. But what I told my friend Mainmeister is that I will be uploading that an hour before the stream begins, because it will take a couple of hours to upload and render. And it will then be for people to watch after the stream. So you'll still be getting it on a Sunday. It will be a Sunday stream, a Sunday blog. No change there. I just have to alter my Saturday, which means that I have to really prep it Friday. So everything is going to be a bit weird next week. But do bear with it. I do hope you'll return. I do hope you'll come back. Nobody wants to lose anybody, especially me. And the last thing was just an apology about the phone. Yeah, started to learn more about this new phone. So this is the new phone, look, just if you wanted to see it. On one hand, it doesn't look that different, does it, really? You know, just a standard sort of phone. But then it opens out to a fold. So, you know, quite a large screen. And then, of course, you can watch your movies in several ways. You could have it like a desktop where you can watch your film there and have the controls there. All sorts of things. It's S Pen. If anybody has seen my Note phone, they will know that I'm very big on using this little doohickey, a pen. And the reason for that is I write lots of notes. So that was the reason, in a nutshell. And with that bombshell as well as nutshell, I'm going to give you your Sunday back. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure today. Lots of problems, but you bared with me on them. I hope you forgive me for some of those bad parts. And with that, hopefully, see you next week, and salute. Be good to yourselves. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.